The term trigger has gained popularity lately, but like many buzzwords, its true meaning is often misunderstood. In today's training, we will explore the concept of emotional triggers, how to spot them, manage them, and draw valuable lessons from them. When we hear someone was triggered, the immediate mental picture might be of them losing their composure or downright freaking out. It's common for us, whether triggered ourselves or witnessing someone else, to view the reaction as irrational or say that the person is immature, too emotional, or overly sensitive. Compassion tends to be in short supply during these triggered moments because we don't realize that there's often years of unaddressed, unhealed pain that is actually coming to the surface in that instance. Like an iceberg, what we witness is merely the tip. The real causes are hidden beneath. Before we look to determine what is going on below the surface, I first want to explain what an emotional trigger is. Think of it as an emotional allergy. Much like a physical allergy, it's an intense response to a stimulus. When we have an allergic reaction to something like pollen or certain foods, our bodies respond based on the severity of the allergy. We might sneeze or break out in hives, or in severe cases, our throats could even begin swelling closed, restricting our airways and threatening our very survival. An emotional trigger is very similar because at its core, it's an intense allergic reaction to something in the present that, whether consciously or unconsciously, serves as a reminder of a wound from the past. And the intensity of the allergic response will depend on the severity of the underlying wound and when it was originally inflicted. We've likely all seen adults respond in a way that reminded us of a child. Chances are they were triggered, and their response to the trigger reverted their behavior to their childlike state, to the very age that they were when the original wound took place. In fact, when we experience an emotional wound as a child, we actually become arrested in our emotional development. So when something happens in our adult life that reminds us of that wound, whether consciously or unconsciously, our response will look similar to the reaction that we would have had at the age when we first experienced that wound. When something happens that triggers that in us, our brains automatically go into a fight or flight response in an effort to protect ourselves from experiencing the pain. Logical thinking takes a back seat as our amygdala gets hijacked, focusing solely on preventing pain and escaping uncomfortable feelings that we're experiencing in that moment. That may have worked well to protect us when we were children, but the responses that we had as children don't often serve us well in relationships as adults. Emotional triggers unleash powerful responses. Outbursts of sudden anger, sobbing uncontrollably, extreme sadness, fear, or feelings of inadequacy. Recognizing and understanding these triggers is crucial. By paying attention to recurring emotional responses, you can gain insight into the specific events or circumstances triggering intense emotions. Criticism, rejection, abandonment, loss, betrayal, invalidation, those are all common triggers. So today, let's delve into identifying your personal triggers. First, take a moment to recall something that happened recently that made you feel bad or uncomfortable. And it doesn't have to be something huge, but it should be something that caused a response in you that you felt in your body. Maybe you felt your blood pressure rising or your heart beating faster. Chances are that it could have also been seen or heard. Maybe you started screaming, throwing things, or slamming doors. Perhaps you were responding to a comment from someone that hit a nerve, like your boss reprimanding you for something that wasn't your fault. Or perhaps it was just the frustration of grappling with technology or a new skill that you were trying to master. Take a moment to think about what was happening. And then what about that made you so upset? Next, identify the feelings that you were experiencing: sudden anger, sadness, fear, helplessness, loneliness, feelings of inadequacy. Now, take note of your triggered response. It's important for you to recognize how you respond in your body when you're triggered so that you can more easily identify it in the future. There's a possibility that you might not even recognize it until after the moment has passed, in the following hours or days when you start noticing that your thoughts are consumed by that incident. Finally, take some time to figure out where this emotional allergy came from. The first couple decades of your life can be very formative. If we didn't have help managing the difficult things that we thought and felt during this time, they can affect how we view others and ourselves later in life. Take a moment to consider your first 2 decades of life. When was the first time that you recall having that feeling or one similar to it? And once you recall a time in your childhood where you felt that same way, you may be surprised by what comes up in you. There's been times when I've been processing through a recent trigger when I'm immediately reduced to tears because it becomes so clear to me that my inner child was still needing to be comforted from the pain that she was experiencing so many years ago. It's in these moments that you can show compassion for the younger version of yourself who was trying desperately to get her needs met in the best way that she knew how. Emotional triggers are often indicators of unmet needs or desires. They serve as messengers, signaling deeper emotional wounds that require attention and healing. These unmet needs can include love, acceptance, validation, security, autonomy, or a sense of belonging. By exploring these needs, we can uncover the roots of our triggers and work toward addressing them. Nurturing inner healing is a crucial step in breaking free from unhealthy relationship cycles and cultivating healthy connections. It involves practicing self-compassion, forgiveness, and self-care. Healing is a journey, and seeking professional help can offer valuable support in addressing deeply rooted unmet needs. You're not alone in this process. Take the time to understand your triggers, recognize their connection to unmet needs, and explore the memories that they are linked to. Understanding the nature of triggers helps cultivate empathy and a deeper understanding of yourself and those around you.